Grimwick the Demon Cat. Book 3, The Tournament. Chapter 16, Maze of Screams. Another week passed, and round 2 was now upon the students. The second stage was taking place in the crypts, and though Norbert had been serving detention in the crypts for the past few weeks, he shivered in fright. He took some comfort that the other students looked uneasy as they waited for instructions in the damp corridor. But he felt like an imposter compared to students like Penelope, Red, and Arthur, who seemed unfazed by the darkness and chilled air. A few moments later, Vine, Nickel, and the other 3 proctors came into view on their platform. They towered over the students, and small orbs of light hovered around Vine. 87 first years started this tournament, and now only 41 remain, and by the end of tonight, only 8 will. She smiled as she let her words hang in the air. Soon, you will all descend into a labyrinth. The goal is to escape the labyrinth, or be one of the last 8 still standing. If more than 8 students escape, we'll run the trial again and again until only 8 are left. But I suspect 1 round will suffice, as I find it unlikely that any of you will escape. The labyrinth you are about to descend into is filled with monsters. The monsters are my own design, and each vary in their abilities, but each will stalk you, beat you, and remove you from the arena once they've tired of you or you've passed out. She smiled as the students began to shift in their spots and exchange glances with each other. Some of you may wish to group up. Though it will make it easier to fight back these monsters, know that it is easier for the monsters to find groups. You may decide to go solo, but know that the monsters will take no pity on you. Yes, if you participate in this round, you will likely need medical attention afterwards. Vine took great pleasure in her last sentence. Now all the students were worried. Norbert's knees buckled, his throat was dry, but then he looked towards Grimwick. Grimwick grinned and seemed to be excited. He looked towards Red and Penelope, who too seemed eager for the challenge. Both had smirks similar to Grimwick's. Norbert tried to stand a little straighter, hoping their confidence would rub off on him a bit. Vine continued speaking. You'll be randomly assigned a number, which will indicate your starting position in the labyrinth. Numbers appeared on the back of the students' hands. Norbert got a 3. As he was moving towards his station, he saw Red and hopped in her group. She was excited to see him. Oh, nice, you're in my group. We should totally team up. No monster's gonna get us. Before Norbert could reply, Vine appeared like a hawk. No, Mr. Doe. You are in group 4, and Mr. Soot is a 3. Come on, Mr. Soot. Though this is random, I made sure you were not to be in a group of any of the delinquents you've bonded with during your detentions. Vine grabbed Norbert's ear and dragged him to his assigned group. Group 3 snickered at Norbert. He didn't know any of the students in this group, and he doubted anyone was going to want to team up with him now. At least he still had Grimwick. Once every student was in position, the platform they were standing on lowered at a slow pace. Soon the ground level was above them, and just a small hole of light was above. As they continued to move down, it got smaller and smaller as they descended, and then soon no light could be seen, and it got very dark. Though the descent into the dark abyss was only a few seconds, it felt like hours to Norbert. His legs were like gelatin by the time the platform jolted to the ground and settled into place. Vine's voice echoed from overhead. When the light comes on, the second round will begin. There was a pause of anticipation. Everything in Norbert's body told him to run, find cover, hide. When the lights did come on, the arena was washed in a soft blue light. Hallways were in every direction, 20-foot-tall walls and a ceiling of shadows. In front of them was a crystal spider 15 feet tall, and its spiky fangs dripped ooze. The student next to Norbert let out a scream and began to hurl lightning bolts at the creature. The bolts just bounced off the creature's head and didn't faze the creature at all. The spider monster shot a webbing at the student's face and pulled the student towards it. Norbert turned to run, but more spiders were beginning to descend upon the center where they stood. From a quick glance, every spider had a different head, but Norbert had no time to absorb it all if it was a lion or a manticore or what. One hallway had no spider, so Norbert ran down it. He dared not look back. The sound of screams and spells exploded behind him. The chaotic echoes chased him down the hallway. Grimwick reasoned out loud. There were 8 in our group. 2 have already been taken by the spiders. I bet similar things have happened with each group. We just need to survive. Spells didn't seem to have effect on these monsters. Stupid Vine, each monster probably has one weakness. Norbert ran into a dead end, but it wasn't a wall that was the end of the hallway, but a big, large, furry butt was blocking their way forward. Grimwick didn't see it and crashed into Norbert's leg when he made the hard stop. The creature attached to the furry butt began to rise and turn. The monster was just like the others, had a body of a spider, but it had the head of a bear. It roared and charged Norbert, and Norbert ran as fast as he could, but he got caught up in another dead end. Grimwick leapt into action. It only counts if you live, Norbert. I'll distract it. When I do, run between its legs. We don't have to escape, remember, just not get eaten. Grimwick faced the creature and shot fire at the monster's eyes. The creature recoiled and bellowed. Then it shot webbing at Grimwick. Grimwick cut it with his claws and continued casting fire. The creature hit him with more webbing, connecting with one of Grimwick's paws. The monster fired another web. Now half of Grimwick's body was wrapped up in the web. Grimwick was dragged towards the creature. With his free hand, he dug his claws into the stone floor. "Run, Norbert, run!" Grimwick tried to hold on. "I'll teleport you, remember, if we get too far apart." Norbert ran as fast as he could. He ran under the monster's legs and didn't dare look back. Over the walls, he heard more screaming, more spells, more roars. There were fights happening everywhere in the maze, and all Norbert could do was run. Norbert breathed heavy. His lungs were exhausted, and his heart sunk when he turned the corner and reached yet another dead end. He turned to retrace his steps, but the monster crashed into the wall and let out a scream. Its eyes were watering from Grimwick's spell. It approached low to the ground to make sure that Norbert couldn't run under its legs this time. From this height, Norbert noticed the creature was in pain. Grimwick's spells must have hurt it. Norbert's first thought was good. Now that it's weakened, he might have a chance. But then he felt a crushing feeling of guilt that he was responsible for the monster's pain. So he extended his hands. He didn't know very many healing spells, but he did know a healing spell to mend minor burns. His grandma had taught it to him since he was always burning himself on the stove. He cast the spell in his hands and held out his arm. The creature paused as if waiting to see what his attack would do, but Norbert stuttered, "Your eyes look hurt. I might be able to help. I'm not very good, but maybe?" The creature apprehensively moved its face closer to Norbert's hands. It let out a soft moan when Norbert's hand touched its face, and the creature didn't move its head. It wasn't perfect, but Norbert at least managed to soothe the pain. The creature blinked at Norbert, who fumbled back slowly. Before Norbert moved too far away, the creature gave Norbert a lick on the face, and then moved to the end of the hallway and sat down. The creature blocked the path of Norbert's escape, but soon Norbert realized the bear spider's position made it also so that no other creature could get in. Norbert too sat down. Sounds of screaming, colliding spells, and roars came from every direction, but they were distant, and with his new befriended monster, Norbert felt safe. The creature wasn't going to hurt him, and would make sure none others could as well. He didn't know how to explain it, he could just feel it. The screams and the fighting quieted down in time. It was only maybe a moment or two later, but then the white light came on and washed away the blue light. The creature at the end of the hall vanished. Vine's voice echoed from the ceiling. "If you are still in the labyrinth, congratulations. You are moving on to the final tournament. Many of your peers have already been taken to the medical ward, and if you feel you need a checkup too, please let a proctor know or stay where you are and we'll come get you. But if you are able to, make your way back to one of the pathway centers. We'll discuss the next round." Norbert let out a smile. He couldn't believe that he just made it to the final round. He wondered if Penelope and Red had too. He also wondered where Grimwick was. He hadn't teleported back to him. He assumed that Vine was probably keeping him. But he stood up and walked to where he thought the center was. Grimwick was tied up in webbing and hanging upside down from the ceiling. He watched as Norbert took the wrong turn for the 15th time. Even with the lights on, and him mostly in one piece, he'd need help finding his way out of the labyrinth. A creak came from behind him and the nearby catwalk swayed. Grimwick wiggled his body so he could see what was coming from behind. And as always, right on time, it was Vine. She stopped and absorbed Norbert, struggling to find his way out to one of the elevators. She seemed to be contemplating something, but Grimwick couldn't resist egging her on. "See that, Vine? You tried to get us out, and you failed. Now we're going into the final round, and guess what? We're gonna win this thing. And your hope of expelling us this semester goes out the window. Ha ha ha." Vine crossed her hands. "Oh, I doubt you two will win. But I will admit, I'm surprised you've gotten this far." "Oh, you think Pigtails and Mophead are gonna beat us? No way." Vine smiled. "Still on the smack talk strategy, I see. Well, Miss Cress and Miss Rideau could both have beaten you even before my training. And in the recent weeks they've had my training. You and Mr. Soot have been moping around. So I suspect your chances of victory are even slimmer." "Oh, you sly dog," Grimwick smiled. "Always so charitable, but always planning something. You only agreed to train them as insurance to stop us. But it won't work." Vine nodded. "Clever you saw through that. But as always, I'm too many steps ahead of you, Cat. But I will say you both impressed me today. You two have become stronger. I think this is the furthest your tether has ever extended." Grimwick looked down. She was right. This was a significant distance. Norbert was like a dot from his view now, and he hadn't teleported yet. Vine smiled. "And I dare say you've gotten a little softer, Cat. From my view up here, it looked like as if you were trying to save Mr. Soot." She began to walk away, and Grimwick just yelled after her, "Oh, no, you don't. Come over here, you evil hag, and cut me down." Vine paused. "Oh, no. You can wait for the teleport. However long that takes. After all, you said it. I'm a sly dog." And up next in the Grimwick, the Demon Cat, Chapter 17, Preparation.